And I want to take this moment to tell you that what you're doing, by the way, is incredibly brave to answer the call, to listen intently enough, to hear your intuition, just listening. That is big. That's a big, big shift already, and it's brave. It's not easy to hear those messages sometimes under all of the noise that is our lives. Hi, I'm Christina Barcy. Welcome to the Boss Goddess podcast. This is your invitation to step out of the hustle and into your purpose and passion. What's my secret? Podcasting. This is how I've up-leveled my life on multiple occasions when I was ready to bring my dreams to life. And it's how I help my clients realize their big dreams. This is where you become the boss goddess in your niche and gently bring your dreams to life. Hey, before we jump into this episode, I just wanted to share a free resource that I created that will gently guide you in exploring what creating a podcast that lights you up or is the first step to a new season in your life could look like. You'll get creative and thoughtful journal prompts, because you know I love a journal prompt, to help you really explore that thing that really lights you up that you've been wanting to pursue, and what personal lessons and stories and perspectives from your life will be what magnetizes your ideal listeners to you. And there's also resources like spreadsheets and checklists to guide you forward, keep you organized, and meet you where you are now. You can get my free guidance by just going to boss-goddess.co/activate. The link is also in the show notes, but here it is again, boss-goddess.co/activate. And let's get back to the episode. Hi, this is Barcy, your host, and today's episode is all about your creating from your core values with purpose and intention. And I'm going to guide you in how to get started in creating your own podcast. And I'm talking to you if you have discovered a bigger message recently that is calling to you, it's calling your name, and you're ready to lean in and you're ready to take the first steps in starting your purpose-driven brand, business, or venture by starting a podcast. It requires your passion and dedication. It needs organization to get it moving, and it is a process. And the number one thing at this stage in the process is about showing up and committing. And the commitment you're making is to yourself consistently, no matter what. It's about dedication. And if you're serious about changing your life and starting to live on purpose and with intention, and begin honing in on your message that you feel called to, the message you've discovered that's come in view for you, that you feel deep down needs to be shared, like you feel it in your core, and you're ready to start building that brand or business that is in alignment with your purpose, and it gives you the control and freedom maybe that the job you used to go to no longer does, or maybe you're just ready to build that community to support others that share your story, or you're finally learning what it is that brings you joy and you're ready to talk about it, to make space for others to talk about it and to find there's so many reasons that you might be inspired right now to be here, and that you might be ready to put action to that inspiration, to that igniting idea, that feeling that is buzzing inside of you, because that's what it feels like, right? When you have a new idea, to me, it just feels like this buzzy energy that's ready to be used. It has to go somewhere. So here's where you can put it. So these are all purpose-driven endeavors that I just mentioned, and they can be served with the art of podcasting. That's where you can put all of this energy if you want to try developing your voice and your mission and everything around this idea and this new feeling that you have, this inspiration. And I do believe podcasting is an art, because I also believe that it is a craft. You might be thinking, there are so many of these out there. There's so many podcasts. And to your point, it does seem like everyone and their mother has a podcast. So how can this add value? Well, I think that's a fantastic question, and I'm glad that we're talking about it, because I get this a lot actually, especially when someone is deciding whether they want to spend the big bucks on consulting and production, so right at the beginning. And it makes sense. It's a good question. And here's my answer. If you are creating something that is approached as a craft intentionally with your purpose and your core values driving the content and the motivation, then you're no longer part of that crowd. By doing this one thing alone, you have already separated yourself from the masses. So the truth is, I think you could pose that question about anything you want to do, because fear starts to show up and it starts to feed us reasons why we shouldn't take the risk and put ourselves out there only to fail and get lost in the masses. But if it's meant for you and you believe in the process, and more importantly, you believe in yourself and your mission, then it's worth it. And we're going to learn the other things needed to measure how something becomes a quote unquote worth it endeavor for you, including this process of learning how to podcast to launch your new brand or business. So this does not mean that good content or meaningful content will simply rise to the top. There's still a whole process of growing the thing that you're putting out there, and that also takes time. And I want to be realistic about that. This is not a magic bullet, but it is a way to show up, grow your voice and your presence in the space you want to be seen and heard and serve, and to do it authentically and consistently. And don't worry, I do have a step-by-step process to share with you today to get clear on how to start creating from your core. So I'm going to share with you the 3 steps to how to create from your core to embed your purpose and mission at the heart of your messaging for your podcast. The first step to this process is discovering what you value at your core values. The second step is learning how to put these core values to use so they can function for you in your life and in your work, and also your creation process when making your podcast. And the third step is how to link these core values to your purpose and mission in order to build your podcast concept around it. So once you understand how this works, you'll have the benchmark tool to be able to measure everything you do against. Once you become aware of how to do this, you have it forever, and you can always revisit it and use it in any area of your life. So this is a whole life tool, what I like to call a whole life tool. It's like holistic. And I'm going to share with you that actually almost all business mindset and also all creative mindset tools are whole life tools. So meaning it changes your life, not just your business or your creative process. It affects everything. So you'll see results everywhere over time. So when you become intentional, you become clear. And when you have clarity, then you have the ability to build your new brand, your business, and your podcast in a way that is centered by a mission, your mission. Once I learned how to do this, it has become the driving force for how I up-level in my own business and how I show up for you in this podcast. It has to align with my core, and it has to serve my mission for these endeavors specifically, and my life, as well as all of this working together with the bigger picture, which is where the purpose lies. So if that all sounded confusing, I'm going to break it down. Don't worry. So for me, I remind myself all the time that I want to feel inspired, I want to feel free, and I want to feel at peace. And those are all tied to feeling safe and feeling grounded as well. So just to simplify, for me, for this podcast, I need to feel those things when I'm creating it. I want to feel inspired by the topics. I want to feel a sense of freedom in my creation. And in this case, that means being authentic to who I am and how I show up in my voice with what is on my heart to share. Feeling at peace means not feeling pressured or stressed from outside sources for me. And grounded for me means I need to feel solid in how I show up and what I'm bringing to you. Also, to offer grounding to any guests I might have on, I want to offer all of those things to them as well. Peace and a sense of freedom and authenticity, and all of that as well to you, the listener. So those are benchmarks for me to keep showing up and to stay invested and to show up as my most authentic self. So all of that is non-negotiable. My mission ties in because of how I value holding space as well as creating safe spaces to share and become inspired or have shifts occur. Because one of my bigger purposes is to heal with creativity. And that is how I show up to this podcast. That is how all of those elements fold into each other. It's also how I show up when I consult, when I'm working with my clients. To me, that's a safe space for healing and growth. The whole process is very personal. So the order of things is really this. Purpose. That's your biggest umbrella reason for how you want to show up everywhere. It's behind why you want to start this new venture. It's the change you want to bring into the world. It's what motivates you. It's the bigger vision. Then you have your mission, which branches from a place of purpose, but it's more specific for something you're doing, maybe. And you might have a few of them based on what's in front of you, but it comes from the core. It sort of sits in the middle between your core values and your purpose because it's motivated by both. And your core values, these are the things you care about the most. They are what your bigger purpose has at its heart. And they rarely change, though they can shift a little as you grow, or they can become more crystallized. I just want to point out real quickly that if that all sounds overwhelming to you, don't worry. I'm about to guide you through it in steps. And just know that for most of us, we have to hear a concept more than once for it to start to really sink in. So this episode may be the one you listen to again, that you come back to, just because it's so foundational and it's embedded in ideas and feelings that might be new to you and require new attention from you that you haven't exercised before. Deepak Chopra, in a meditation I received from him recently, says that where we put our attention is what expands in our life, and where we put our intention is what transforms in our life. So I'm going to show you how these all work together. Let's dig into how step 1 works. If you're able to take a moment to do this in real time with me while you're listening, then you'll need something to write with. And paper and a writing utensil is the best way for this if you can, versus a digital device, but it is up to you. And if you're busy with something else right now, definitely come back to this because it's a game changer. And the process in this episode hinges on it. So I want you to think of 5 to 10 words, single words, that represent what you value at your core. And you're going to write them down. So on a piece of paper, you're going to write a list. I gave some examples earlier of what mine are when showing up to this podcast, for example. And the way to think of these is what you need most when engaging in a project, a relationship, or an experience. And it's what you need to feel coming from you, and also what you want to feel from the others involved and the situation, and what you want to bring to the other's experience with you. So I want to feel it inside when I think of engaging with the project or person, and I want to bring this energy to the project and person as well. So here are some of mine again. Freedom, safety, space, inspiration, love, openness, creativity. And there's more, but that's a few. Next, you're going to circle your top 3 that are the most important to you, that are non-negotiable. They're the most important. They must be a part of your life. And if you're unsure, you can imagine doing something without having each core value present. Go through them one at a time, feeling what it feels like to have it. Like try to feel the energy of it for just a few seconds, just a few moments. And then do the same for what it would feel like not to have it. What would it feel like for just a few seconds fully to not have that core value in something specific that you're doing or a relationship or something like that. But really pay attention to how it makes you feel. If you're feeling strain or tension without that core value present, then it is probably a must to have. For me, the first one I think of as non-negotiable these days is openness. I need that type of energy coming from me to make space for others so I can serve well. And I need it from others in order to be creative and stay in the flow and to feel safe in my own authenticity. And here's the big one that I almost even overlooked. I need openness for the process to feel joyful to me, for me to feel excited to want to do it. So I mentioned earlier that you would learn how to decide if something is worth showing up consistently for. And it's that part I almost forgot to mention. It's your joy. Your joy and your core values are one of the best ways to measure that. Does it bring me joy? Does it serve my core values? You can always ask those two questions, especially when you're very unsure about something. If your intuition isn't speaking loudly enough, or if it's like, I'm not sure. So here's a way to do it. I want you to think about your core values in a few situations in your life and then use them as a barometer. Think about one of your top 3 core values that you just selected, and think about something in your life and see if it's present there. And then pay attention to how that makes you feel, whatever you discover, how it makes you feel about that thing in your life if it's missing, and how you feel if it's present. And if it's missing, by the way, that's okay. Knowing that it's missing is just information for you at this point. Try not to obsess over it or lay expectations on top of this knowledge that you just discovered, or even own it. It's just information right now. But what you can do is then pose this question to yourself. How can I add more or add some of this core value to this experience? And the same thing goes for joy. You can always ask yourself, how can I add more joy to this experience? And I'll tell you, sometimes that means moving on from the thing in front of you. Maybe not immediately, but when it becomes part of our awareness and there's really no way to answer the question, how can I bring more? Maybe you've tried all of the ways already and it's just not the right fit anymore. And that's okay too. It's information that's useful. Okay, so moving on to step 2. You came here already with a purpose in mind. You have an idea, you have a calling, you feel driven in some way, and you want to put action to it. And maybe you just weren't sure what action steps to begin with. But podcasting is all about the message, so you thought maybe you'd start here. And you're right. You're in the right place. You're right about all of that. Podcasting can be a great first step to put your purpose into action. And I want to take this moment to tell you that what you're doing, by the way, is incredibly brave to answer the call, to listen intently enough, to hear your intuition, just listening. That is big. That's a big, big shift already, and it's brave. And I want to personally tell you, congratulations for finding it, for doing that. You deserve to revel in that. It's not easy to hear those messages sometimes under all of the noise that is our lives. And it's much more comfortable oftentimes to just ignore them. But you are here. You are already here, and that is huge. I do hope you find space to acknowledge that and to acknowledge you. And what I'm guiding you in is how to take that inspiration and put it to action. It's what we call inspired action. Once I realized what inspired action was, it was like, what? It was like an epiphany to me. And inspired action it's motivated by listening to our intuition, or some like to say our gut. So whatever that calling is that you have discovered, or the purpose or the thing on your heart that you're feeling, the buzziness to start something, that is inspiring you to move into action. And then the next part is finding the action pieces to take steps with. So how do we know what that is? So the core values are connected to it, to the intuition part, the message. The core values are like anchors and like guiding elements, and we know what they are now. So for this part, again, if you're doing something else right now while you're listening to this podcast, this is a good time to pause the episode and find a comfortable space to be in and start listening again with your full attention, or to come back to this. So get quiet for a moment, focus on your breath, and close your eyes. You may want to have pen and paper nearby again, and just start to think about what the journey has been for you that brought you to this point of being ready for action. You can just listen to my voice ask the questions while you consider them, or you can listen pause the episode after each question and journal each one as we go through them. It's up to you. So let's begin. What was that inspirational point for you? What realization did you make? What shifted? What changed? What did you notice? That's all one thought. What was that inspiration point for you? What realization did you make? What shifted? What changed? What did you notice? What caused you to wake up a little and then a little more? What desires awoke in you? What influenced this shift, even if it was small or painful? What difference do you want to see and be a part of? Now, think about how your core values are connected to the answers to these questions. Even if you didn't write down answers, just think about how your core values are connected to what the answers might be. So step 3 is getting specific about how you want to use your purpose and core values in this venture, your mission for this venture. If you're still able to be in this quiet space, breathing deep and closing your eyes, answer this next question. How do you see yourself in the future if you get to live your purpose fully and get to have your core values met in all you do? How do you see yourself in the future if you get to live your purpose fully and get to have your core values met in all you do? Now, how would you like to show up in this venture, in this moment, as you take your first steps forward? How would you like to show up in this venture, in this moment, as you take your first steps forward? And try to think of those questions and answers from a place that is open, from a place that is abundant, meaning oftentimes when we try to imagine something that we want for ourselves, the negative reasons of why we can't have it will creep in and will stop us from seeing the full picture of what we would like to have for ourselves. Things like, that's not meant for you, or that's never going to happen. You can't have that, but maybe you can have this dimmer version of it. Things like that. So just notice that if it's happening and try to just recenter and try it again, and just try to see the full picture that you want for yourself. And here's a few more. What would you like to bring to the podcast from your core values? What would you like to bring from your purpose? How would you like others to feel? And what would you like them to receive from you? So what would you like to bring to this podcast from your core values and also from your purpose? How would you like others to feel? And what would you like them to receive from you? What effect do you want to bring forward with your podcast? Maybe it's creating space, creating awareness, creating information in a safe place, serving a community that needs it, creating relatability. Okay, if you are doing this in real time, take one more deep breath and let it go. And you can do that even if you are just listening. And know that everything you just discovered or asked yourself is there for you. And you can open your eyes if they were closed. And we're going to continue. So, a mission of mine for this podcast and using the core values I listed earlier could be creating a safe space for purpose-driven creative people to not feel alone, to feel guided and safe, and to promote their healing, growth, self-kindness practice, and positivity. That is what I want for you. And essentially, that's what I get to feel every time I show up too, as well as the guests. So it works for everyone. So as you can see, it's the backbone of the content that you hear each week. The content is all about how to stay in the process, how to keep showing up, how to get started. And we do that through tools and exercises and conversations I have with relatable guests sharing their journeys on this path. And now also this very specific guidance in how to incorporate all of that in starting a podcast with purpose for your new venture. So that's the content, but I execute it in a way that I want you to feel all of those things that come from my purpose and my core values. Okay, if you're a perfectionist like me, I just want to remind you to be gentle with yourself and to give yourself some grace and some time and space for all of this to sink in. If you feel like the answers aren't coming or you're still unclear, that is all perfectly normal. We're doing really deep work here, especially in today's episode, and that can take a few listens to digest it. So you may want to come back to this episode a few times, but just keep showing up. Don't give up yet. Just keep moving through it and give yourself a chance to see how you feel by the end, okay? So that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Boss Goddess podcast. And if you're ready to get started in exploring podcasting as an option for your next step to clarity, confidence, and maybe even the very foundation that will become your next brand or business, then go to boss-goddess.co/activate to get 5 days of gentle guidance and resources from me that will tap into your magic and your wisdom with my free Activate Your Goddess Era with Podcasting guidebook. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate or click the link in the show notes.